Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be creating a program using Python. This is going to be for my computer science 110 class, and this is going to be my final project. So for our final project, basically what we were expected to do was to create a turtle program that would create a pattern, and then an image of this pattern was given to us, and we had to follow it and then write this program so that this turtle would do that. So I have a picture of the pattern which was assigned to me, and basically I had to create that pattern and then make sure that the user puts in, let's just say, for instance, if the user wants it to be a 4x4, we create this pattern 16 times, and then those patterns have to be aligned each time. So as you can see under my presentation over here, I assigned some numbers to the rows and the columns, and I'll get back to that later on. So and explain to you why I did that. So the final output of my program is something like this. Basically, this is what we're expected to do. This, as you can see, this is going to be a 4x4 grid. So like if you count this as 1, and then this one is 2, this one 3, this one 4, and then 1 2 3 4 over here. So this is going to be a 4x4, which is 16. And then as I move along, I'll go back and forth between my PowerPoint presentation and my code, and then I'll explain how I wrote it line by line. So there are a lot of strategies that we can use in order to achieve this, but I went with the simplest one, which was to draw or to create 5 functions, and then I can use these functions repeatedly in order to create that pattern. So the first function that I created was draw triangle 1, which is going to draw this triangle. And the second one is going to be draw triangle 2, which is going to create this triangle, and then so on, draw triangle 3, 4, and then finally a draw square. So basically what I did was I created the grid initially with the squares. So after I did that, I overlaid the triangles so that the output would look like what we're expected to do. So I'll go into each function, explain to you how that happens. Okay, so the first one is going to be our draw square function. So over here you can see a picture of the code that I took from my code. So draw square, it takes in 3 variables, turtle length and color, and then it basically just draws a square. So over here you can see turtle begin fill. So this is where before it draws the turtle or before it draws the square, it fills it out with color, and then it's followed by a for loop, so that it would loop 4 times to create that square, and then at the same time, once it's done creating that square, it's gonna color it, and then it's gonna fill it up, and then it's gonna move on to the next square. And after that, the other function that I created was draw triangle 1. So basically this triangle is gonna create a triangle that's gonna be that has a 90-degree angle, and the image of that triangle is gonna look like, I'll go back, it's gonna look like this right here. Okay, so basically what this code does is create that, and over here what I did in my for loop is that I told it that it's going to have 3 sides, or it's going to do it 3 times. So if when I equals to 1, then it's going to use the Pythagorean theorem in order to find what that what the C is, basically what the longest side of triangle is going to be. So I use the Pythagorean theorem over here, and then if I equals to 2, then it's just going to draw the length, and then the angles is going to be either 90 degree plus 45 or 180 minus 45. So it's tells it whether to make to make that angle based on the requirement. And then after this, I went to creating draw triangle 2, and then this one again is basically the same principle, but instead of the largest side of triangle facing left, it's gonna face right. Okay, so it's exactly the same principle, same code as the previous one, except a couple of differences. That's where the if statement over here, this one's 1 and then this one's 0. The next function that I created was draw triangle 3, and then this one, again, same principle, it does everything as the previous one. So the difference between all the 4 functions is the type of triangle they're gonna create, right? So this one, the largest side of the triangle is gonna be facing to the left. On this one, it's gonna face to the right, and this one is gonna face to the right, but it's gonna be downsided, and then this one's gonna be to the left, but it's again gonna be downsided. Okay. So after I created all the 5 elements, I went to my I created my main function, which is going to be draw board. So this function is going to use all the 5 functions. They're going to call upon all the 5 functions, and then it's going to use that to create the grid at the same time, overlap it with the triangles in order to create our pattern. So over here, excuse me, over here I created a for loop inside a for loop, and then I told the turtle to go to the beginning of the beginning of the where it should begin, and then after that it's going to start looping, and then it's going to go through the colors because I created colors as a list. So this is where basically our brain of our program. I used if statements and booleans in order to differentiate between the rows and the columns. Earlier in the beginning, I told you I assigned numbers to the rows and columns. So the reason I did that is because I'm going to use coloring. I'm going to use like patterns and colors by following the rows and the columns of my pattern. So over here, if for instance over here, if the row is greater than or equal to 3 and it's less than or equal to 6, or if row is greater than or equal to 11, or and row is less than or equal to 4. If this function or if this line is true, then it's going to go into this statement and then execute everything in here again. So once it goes through that, it's going to go into another if statement, and then it's going to check that whether column is equal to 2 or 6 or 10 or 14. And once this statement is true, then it's going to draw a turtle, and then it's going to draw a square, and then it's going to go out and then go exit the if statement and go to the next if statement. So basically, if any of these are true, it's going to draw the appropriate triangle. So the next section of the if statement code is I made it so that if the row is equal to 0 or 8 or 16, it's going to go into another if statement, and then it's going to take the modulus of the column, and if that modulus is equal to 0 again, it's going to go and draw triangle 3. And this go on for some time. I mean, because it is a very complicated code. It took me a lot of time in order to create this. So this is going to be the last part of the brain of the code. So again, it's going to keep on doing that in order to create that pattern. Next, we're just going to create another for loop, and then we're going to call on to the size. The size is something the user is going to input. Once the user inputs, for instance, 4, then it's going to be a 4x4, and then it's going to go into the loop, and then it's going to execute everything based on the color preference of the user input. And then at the end, it's going to execute, and then it's going to end.